Beautiful. Beautiful. I dig that. I dig that. Beautiful. I dig that. Beautiful. I dig that. Beautiful. I dig that. Beautiful. I dig that.
give you the willies. What's the matter? Don't you like my little maggots?
For those who love horror. Flesh Feast, the ultimate in horror. Living human bodies used for the most vile experiment ever devised. See Veronica Lake as the evil of vengeance smoldering in her unforgiving heart erupts on the screen in a grisly orgy of hideous horror. Don't miss Flesh Feast. Your flesh will crawl.
Flesh Feast. Make sure to say it delicately.
Flesh Feast.
It's like a commercial. Like, Ginete, Ginete. Flesh Feast.
Flesh Feast. Oh, man. Everybody recovering from AXE.
Oh,
Oh,
that was a bad place to live.
yeah. A $25 house in the middle of North Carolina, somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
It was worth it. I
Yeah.
like that place. It was kind of like the Night of the Living Dead house, except maybe there was a hill, I think.
Yeah. Was it the horrible house on the hill?
I love their plastic that they had outside the door. I
Yeah.
remember when everybody in the 70s was doing that. Like they'd
Yeah.
make a plastic screen door, and we even like did it for our windows one year, which was it didn't work all that well.
We did it. I know we
Yeah.
did it a couple years. My dad did like vinyl thin plastic over the windows for winter, and it was still freezing. I was like, Dad, we need to maybe put curtains up or something. Like, let's figure it out.
Did you ever do the thing with the hair dryer?
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
plastic? It helps a little.
Yeah, we did it at the old house, and it helped out a lot. Because I remember, where my closet was upstairs with all my t-shirts in it. That room was always like so cold, and because there was no insulation in those walls in the old house. So yeah, we would do that sometimes. I like that. That's fun to do the hair dryer thing, isn't it? Like to seal it up. Look at that. Nora liked it. See?
I know.
That's a rave review.
She's in the YouTube chat, Chris, so you can't see her comments, but here they are. But here's another comment. Didn't she own any shoes?
Mm-hmm.
They were just, she was in character.
Yeah. If I didn't have to wear shoes, I'd never wear shoes either. So however, I am wearing shoes right now, but yeah. In my youth, I walked around shoeless quite often.
I don't like to go barefoot though.
No?
I gotta have socks on. Yeah, because I don't like my feet getting dirty.
Yeah. Wrestling has left my feet with permanent needles and pins, so I have to wear shoes for the support on them because I've ruined the nerves in them from doing dives with the floor and stuff. So yeah, sweet. Fun.
I'm not going to show you, but I promise you I have perfect feet. I could be a foot model.
You could. Oh, you could be on
foot.
Only feet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
As long as they stop there, I'm good.
Yeah. See, there you go. What did everybody think about AXE? Other folks here.
Yeah, other than Nora,
yeah,
who liked AXE. And Brett McCormick commented too.
I saw he did. He saw it with the child, which is awesome. Hey, Brett, thanks for watching the show. We're excited to have you in the chat room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nora's with you, Bill. She also has to wear something.
Yeah. I can't just go barefoot. I don't know why. I when I was a kid, I did though. Like I was like you. I would never want to wear anything.
Becca wears sandals everywhere. And like the other day, we were working on our hillside, like where the plants are, and she was just like walking over rocks and stuff in these like light sandals. And I was like, "You're gonna get hurt." She's like, "No, I wear sandals all the time." I was like, "Okay." So
whatever, you warned.
Yeah. So I tell her all the time, like when we're lifting heavy things and doing stuff, like put on shoes. Nope. So all right. At this job site.
Yeah. Oh, there's all kind of glass in our yard.
Yeah.
Like, I think the dirt, one of my neighbors told me that when they, added soil to this hillside, they used something from a landfill.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of shit embedded in it, like broken glass. So you got to be careful. Bastards. Cheap bastards. That's all they gave you.
Well, my parents' house was like that because what do you call it? They got fill for their yard from like the one of the factories. So it had like broken, like, glass and china and stuff in it. And that's how they would do fill back then.
I guess it was a thing. How do you think the house in Axe was built? I bet it was beautifully crafted.
Oh, I got to see it. I wish it was one of those Sears houses. The houses.
Oh yeah, Craftsman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could order a house mail order.
Isn't that crazy? Like, it's still
order your house and build it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the craziest thing.
I think about that though. Like, it came with instructions on how to build a house, but could you imagine, like, how long would that take? And wouldn't you run into something that you just couldn't do? I mean, could you really build it all yourself?
I know. Like, do you think that there were like contractors that they recommend? You know how whenever you get stuff from Home Depot, how they tell you, oh, here's a person to install it with or do these kind of things with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird thing, isn't it?
I just read an article about it not too long ago, and I can't remember when they stopped doing that. When was the last time that you could order a house from a Sears catalog?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it Micro. They supposedly would just come on a train car and they would pop it off the train car and take it to wherever you were and then start building it. So, but what I do like about Axe is it has a vibe, like we talked about, and I love movies where guys kidnap a girl and don't realize that they picked the absolute wrong person. You know what I mean? Like,
you would think they would know all the signs now of what people are supposed to do when you threaten them, and she doesn't fit any of it.
She seems just kind of spaced out, and they're like, and each of them are like, oh, I can take advantage of this in some way, and no, you can't, because she's been there for a while, and that she's she has it figured out, and you don't even realize she does.
They didn't know what they were getting into.
No.
And they just wanted to, like, they were like, oh, she's just a little, she's just a little out there. She doesn't talk very much, and we'll just come in here and chill out. Oh, and the only other guy in the house is paralyzed.
Yeah. It seemed like a perfect situation for them.
It was very Last House on the Left. They even tried to, like, go. I mean, the scene in the diner, or not the diner, the store, where they humiliate that clerk and make her take her top off and do a William Tell thing with her. That's very Last House on the Left. The stuff at the house, though, I don't know. That seems kind of different, like this cat and mouse thing that they're doing the whole time with Lisa. It sort of changes tone there. Yeah.
Yeah, I what I like about it is it feels not really fall, but it feels so stark and cold in parts that I really like that about that. It's like it's always weird to me when home invasion movies are always weird to me, because you have so much of your house is your sanctity, and then when somebody else is in there, like, it changes everything. It changes it just when somebody's staying there, but it also, when they're there for bad reasons, it gets really weird. But then also for the people that are staying there, isn't it? That's what I like about Last House, is like, it's creepy for them because they start to realize what's happening. I love the soup scene where they figure out what's going on. Like, that's a really cool part.
What is she doing? Yeah, like, I don't know. She was a cannibal too. I guess we're supposed to understand that that's blood in there. Maybe she only gave him the blood and she gave her dad tomato soup.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's like, is that exploitation because this is North Carolina, or I don't know. It's kind of like it. I don't think so. I think it's horror, but it's free-form genre. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can put whatever label you want on it.
That's true. Yeah, it's not quite as idiosyncratic as Hicksploitation, but I mean, all the elements are there because it's this house in the country, isolated, and you see, like, she's not wearing shoes, she's hillbilly-ish, and there's an old man, there's an old geezer there
Yeah.
that doesn't say anything. And that's all very exploitation. So I guess it could be.
It's kind of like All the Kind Strangers is my favorite kind of that exploitation, where those kids have been in the house so long, they've been auditioning mums and dads. Do you know what I mean? And they last only so long before they're killed. I love that movie.
This movie has a heavy dose of ennui.
Yeah.
It's just all crammed into its scant runtime. And that's one of the things that I love the most about AXE is even when nothing's happening, there's a really unsettling feeling, even though, the violence it's there on screen, but it's not quite as brutal as what you're actually seeing depicted.
Yeah.
It's more suggested, even though you're seeing it it's not really convincing. Like that scene in the beginning where they beat that guy up.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look real. You just know that it's supposed to be happening, and that's supposed to be enough.
I agree with Jenny's comment that her life's drudgery. Do you think that this is exciting to her now that she has this to do? Like, it's like, oh, this is a new game for me versus the game of taking care of my father or grandfather, this nearly dead man, and being stuck alone in the house with him. And also, like, when that's over, like, I always think about this, like when her caregiving's over, like what is next for her? Does she just grow old in the house too? Like, will she, like, there's not much for her to do anymore.
She becomes the crazy old lady. She's like Laurie Strode in the new Halloween movie.
Oh,
Halloween 2018.
God, Mike's description of how all the movies stick together that he posted a couple weeks ago, it was astounding genius, just incredible, of like how like she's the same character in all the movies and how he put them together. So yeah,
does he include Halloween H20? I didn't read it yet.
Yeah, it's pretty good how he put it together. It's
because I feel like that character dead ends, like that version of Laurie dead ends after that, and well, I guess it doesn't because they brought her back for the next one. Ugh.
Yeah.
Halloween Resurrection.
Oh,
what a bummer. I mean, I knew they would do it, but I don't know. I choose to believe that it ends with Halloween H20. She chops his head off. That's the end.
H20 is, it's funny because like I talked on my blog the other day about how every generation gets the body snatchers that it needs. Is that similar to Halloween? Because the H20 is the Scream Halloween. Because Kevin Williamson worked on it, so it has a lot. It's more less concentrated on her and more on the kids of the school and her son. And then
for once, I didn't like his treatment. I've read it. Yeah. Have you?
No.
The script that he turned in. There was like a scene where she kills him with I don't know. He speaks to her. He calls her name, and it takes place in a pool or something, and she impales him. I don't know. It didn't sound as exciting.
Yeah, I don't like that. I also, I don't know. I'm weird about it. Like the idea that they're not brother and sister. I kind of like the fact that they're brother and sister. I realize it was invented for the second movie, but like once you commit to it, then like going back the other way and taking it away feels cheap. Like it kind of do you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh yeah, that thing you heard. So how does he find her? Why does he find her? Why does he care so much? If you take that out,
I'm not really sure how I feel about it, to be honest. I thought it was really dumb in Halloween 2. It even sounds dumb in the movie. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just like if someone writes Sam. I'll say Danzig style. If someone writes Sam Hain on a blackboard, I'm totally cool with that. I wish someone when I went to school, I'd be like, yeah, this is awesome.
But I don't know. I kind of liked it in H20 that they were brother and sisters because it really the story that they wrote it worked better in that story than it did in Halloween 2.
Yeah, it's I've spent way too much time in my life thinking about Halloween, and I'm not sad about it. But like, and I can tell Mike has too, because just his comment there, like, yeah, we realize Haddonfield is Elwood City or Monongahela. It's that size of town, right, where everybody knows everybody's business. someone should, I know there's always been these social media characters that people have created for Halloween, but so you know how your community has a Facebook page, like, you know, we have like the Monongahela New Eagle news page. Someone should make just a Haddonfield news page so you can get all the gossip from different people talking about it.
And what other stories are happening in Haddonfield? Like, I want to know what they're who's raising hell at the school board in Haddonfield. Is there a cat
Also,
howling in the background?
Yeah, Elvis keeps coming up and down the steps and screaming. Sorry, he's been hanging out with me, but like occasionally, I think because what happens is Lola sits at the top of the steps and doesn't let him come back upstairs. And if he tries to get back upstairs, she hits him. She's about a third of his size. He's at like 25 pounds. She's about 4 or 5, and like he's afraid of her. I would be too, though. She's terrifying. But yeah. Anyway.
Oregon.
Do you think that there's water problems in Haddonfield, much like Crystal Lake? And, you know, obviously, because, you know, is it like a...
No. Haddonfield doesn't have a curse like Camp Crystal Lake does.
Yeah. Yeah. Lonnie becomes a character. Chris brought up that he wasn't how severe Lonnie's PTSD is from Loomis fucking with him. Lonnie seems pretty fucked up in the later movies. I like that, like the fan service of having Lonnie be a character in the David Gordon Green movies. Like, come on. Do we need this? This is third segment discussion of deep cut Halloween stuff. Sorry, we should be talking about.
We got way off topic. We're talking about
this happens all the time because once we start talking about Haddonfield, it just spirals, right?
I know what I have to show. I have to show that video that you sent.
Yeah,
the shots with Pearl.
Yeah,
sideways. It's going to take me a minute to find it.
But yeah,
what else?
It's really amazing how when you see the Pearl stuff, how it comes across. But
well, I guess this does have a Pearl vibe to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. One thing I will say, you know, obviously the thing that unites this week's two films, one is that they're both regional movies, but just seeing the preview of Flesh Feast here, we talked about AXE as an auteur film, and you know it's close to, there are moments of art house within it. This does not happen at all in Flesh Feast. Just as a warning to you, like they are diametrically opposed from the art and commerce side, which you will soon learn. But there are beautiful things to discover in both of them.
Yeah, they each have their own unique feel.
They both exist in a world that only exists within the films. Do you know what I mean? They are very much from another planet.
I think Flesh Feast is a couple steps towards Doris Wishman.
Oh yeah, definitely.
AXE is in the other direction.
Oh, 100%. Like, I'm shocked that there isn't more shag carpet and just random shots of feet like a Doris Wishman movie within Flesh Feast. Also directed by the same director that did Blood Freak, so that's pretty exciting.
I like this comment.
It really does. It's such a rough watch, but I really like that about it. Like, I like my favorite part. It's no spoiler, but Daryl, yes, I wish. I talked about it before, but when the woman discovers what is inside the lab and just starts screaming, I couldn't stop laughing. But I also was like, because who made these effects? Like, what are they? There's also like B-roll footage of maggots. That's obviously B-roll that wasn't shot for this movie. Probably came from an industrial or an education film. But yeah, why do setups of these bugs? The end of the movie's a total mind fuck.
If you could call it that, you're really setting it up.
You know what? I love the end of the movie, but yeah, I am also. I feel about this movie as if like a family member made it, where I'd be like, it's good. And they're like, did your cousin make this? Yeah, but it's good. I love my cousin.
If you watch that trailer, you've already seen the ending of Flesh Feast. You just didn't know what you were seeing.
You didn't see it yet. Yeah. But then you're like, wait, Veronica Lake is in this movie? Like Hollywood royalty, Veronica Lake? Yeah. Yeah, she's in this movie. She doesn't look like
she Hollywood royalty though.
I think she is obviously, she was like an it girl for a couple of years, especially with that peekaboo haircut. Like, she was famous for that haircut. And Yeah, she's pretty amazing. So,
Well, I keep thinking of Joan being Hollywood royalty. Like she
oh, well,
wasn't on
she's
the level of Joan Crawford
no. I mean, come on,
or Betty Davis even.
no, but who is, right? But I mean, she is somebody that's well known. My grandfather would talk about her all the time. So, you know, uh, Brad Grinter, who directed it, also did Devil Rider. And after he did Blood Freak, he did 2 nudist movies, Never the Twain and Barely Proper, which I've been hunting for because Never the Twain is a movie about a real life supernatural event where Mark Twain possessed actor Ed Trostel at the 1974 Miss Nude World Beauty Pageant.
I think his nude movies have plenty of Twain.
Yeah, neither balls nor ass actually was the original title of it. The Habby Flabby Nabby. It's so yeah. The star. So a little bit about Veronica Lake in this. By the 60s, she was living in a women's hotel in New York City. She had changed her name to Connie DeTuth, and she had been arrested a few times for public drunkenness. The New York Post outed her, and fans were so upset that they sent her money, which she returned to each one of them personally. And after she wrote her autobiography, where she laughed off the idea that she was a sex symbol and said that she was more of a sex zombie, she took the money from that book and invested it in this movie. She died in 1973 from liver damage, and her ashes were scattered off the coast of the Virgin Islands, most of them because in 2004, some of her ashes were found in a New York City antique store. How did this happen? How did her ashes get there? I don't know. But I found a picture online. I forgot to send it to your show of her at a cocktail party with Andy Warhol and Candy Darling, and she's just staring at them like, "What am I doing here?" Which is pretty amazing. But anyways, let's go backwards a little bit, and here are some of the comparison shots of Axe with Pearl, and some of them are close up, but the vibe of them are similar, as you'll see. Yeah, it's.
Oh, definitely the same film.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't it weird?
Yeah, it is. I mean, but you know,
but I think even more in Axe. I mean, in Pearl, she's less of a victim. Obviously, she's the victimizer after a while. Those come from the Instagram Cinematologist. If you'd like to check out, they post a lot of things on Cinematologist of shots that are similar and vibes that are similar from movies. So I just saw that today, and I was like, wow! Like especially the washing thing in the sink and the egg cracking thing. It's like, oh wow, there's a lot of this within it. So yeah, thanks for indulging me with that.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So but anyways, Flesh Feast.
Back to Veronica Lake and her
Lake.
peekaboo hair.
Yeah. Flesh Feast is very grimy. It feels sweaty and dirty and gross. And as do most Florida movies. Like most movies shot in Florida have, and this is no insult to Florida. They feel swampy. They feel Impulse is a movie that I think of. Like Impulse feels like everybody is sweating, and like there's no air conditioning, and
yet they're in clothing that looks like you know a crayon box exploded all over it.
Shatner's outfits in that movie are out of this world, like the best outfits. But yeah, the rayon sweat. He is sweating so hard underneath those.
That's what I want to see. Another good sweat movie is Bloodstalkers.
Oh yeah,
AKA The Night Andy Died.
Yeah. That's your dream title, huh?
The Night Daniel Died. I was getting the death dream and getting mixed up. The night
no, I think
Daniel
that was
died.
a Freudian slip for Andy.
Maybe. But Bloodstalkers is extremely sweaty. It's one of those movies where they go into a cabin in the middle of the Everglades with no electricity for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you would not get me in a place in a shack with no running water in the fucking Everglades. You know how hot it would be back there? You wouldn't even be able to take a shower.
Cryptid Dark Secrets is super sweaty too.
Yeah, but somehow it looked like a nice place to live.
Yeah, it did. But like when she's like, she oils herself up repeatedly. Is that to keep away the mosquitoes that have to be living
Definitely.
on the water? Is that the secret?
Somehow, yeah, it's off that she's swimming around in. Actually, a big sea of off,
Yeah,
deep woods off.
yeah. All the Griffey movies feel like that to me. They feel sweaty and just like
Yeah,
they make me give me the feeling of humidity, of like excess, like when it's like 100% humidity and it's like that weird late at night hot that you're like, why is it so hot in the middle of the night? You know what I mean? And like everything's misty and like, but I kind of dig that. I love that. And
Frogs doesn't look sweaty.
no, Frogs doesn't. That's a good call. But is that because it's more of a major motion picture? Like it's from a bigger studio?
I guess I don't know. Like they definitely had more of a crew
Yeah.
to make sure the actors were all touched up and weren't sweating. So yeah,
Yeah. Blood Feast feels sweaty to me. Uh, it just feels kind of like Blood Feast feels like you can smell it while you're watching it. Like it just, I think it smells like the pine sol of a porn store is the smell. If there was a odorama of Blood Feast, that's what it would smell like. It's just like, ugh, what is going on? Because I know that because they had the same lamb guts for the whole movie and they dunked them in Lysol and kept them in there. And it had to be horrible to handle that stuff. Like, oh, thank God that special effects advanced somewhat where we stopped using real guts for special effects.
well, I'm sure there are still people out there doing
Oh,
it.
I mean, Joe D'Amato did for Blue Omega. I mean, he was like, yeah, we just got pig innards and stuffed them into things.
Joe D'Amato weather.
Yeah. Joe said it would. Remember that song?
I'm sorry, we're making Pittsburgh references again.
Did Joe ever come to your school?
No, I don't think so.
He came to our
Maybe, I
school.
don't know.
He came to our school and people lost their fucking minds. Like it was like the end of the world. Like and he landed the helicopter in the parking lot and people were like, and of course I was like super cynical by then. I'm like, I don't want to see Joe DiNardo, fuck him. And but of course he did an assembly and he taught us about barometric pressure. This is a weatherman. This is, and the biggest thing that happens in Pittsburgh is the weather people. Like we still live in a town where like a local news celebrity is a big deal, even today. But in the 70s, it was the biggest deal. Like, God, if Bob Cosma came to your school, you probably could have died at 18 and been happy.
And when I was in college, my friends were obsessed with Edie Tarbox.
Oh, yeah.
They had a calendar and they would make a note of all of her outfits that she wore, like they on a calendar. And they were like, we're waiting for her to repeat an outfit.
Oh, wow. I forgot all about Edie Tarbox. And Chris brings up John Cigna is my favorite Pittsburgh personality. Well, him and Myron Cope are my all-time two favorite. I guess tangibly is Myron Cope a news person, probably not, more sports. But yeah. Anybody that was on KDK radio, big deal. Get the spaghetti breakfast in there. That's how weird Pittsburgh is. Like the Black Friday, you could go to Market Square and get spaghetti breakfast to celebrate Christmas. What a weird town we live in. Anyways, Flesh Feast.
Not a spaghetti breakfast, but
No.
close.
Yeah.
Flesh feast.
Flesh Feast.
Makes
It's like do you like maggots? What's the line from Lost Boys? This movie will totally make you live it.
You're eating maggots.
They're eating maggots. Wow, Queen of Blood played with this?
Queen of B.
We can't say blood.
But we can say flesh feast.
Yeah, and we can say morbid horror.
Flesh eating maggots. That's
Yeah.
not too far. But blood.
What is the most vile experiment ever devised? Is it this?
This one.
This is it?
Yes.
If you stay through all three movies, you get to stay free. That's a challenge. They should have really loaded up with some bad stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like
They could have done a lot worse. Yeah.
Like I think people are going to stay for all three, and these are all short, right? Like
unless they made Flesh Feast last, then people may have left.
What if they made Flesh Feast last and really slowed it down? Do you know what I mean? And like occasionally broke frames and burned it. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, oh, sorry, we have to rewind it a bit, and then they take it back 20 minutes.
How much more Flesh Feast can you stand?
You have to make it through Flesh Feast 3 times, And
How much morbid horror.
Oh, this is the most vile experiment ever designed, was trying to see if you could stay through all 3 movies. Oh, you got a free pass for the future, not for this movie. And then probably after that, they're like, no free passes for this.
Why does Veronica Lake look like a midwife in this ad?
They did not find, like, it's funny because people, they put her name and I'm sure people are like, oh, Veronica Lake, she was super hot. And like, no, this is what she looks like in this movie. Oh, not to take things down, Bill, but we totally forgot to say something. Tony Todd died yesterday.
I know.
And I'm just very bummed out about it.
I thought of you first thing because you had worked with him before.
Yeah. And I was, what a awesome person, like great in everything he was in, and super great guy too. So yeah, pretty awesome. Though you should watch one of his movies this week, and don't just watch Candyman. I recommend the Savini directed Night of the Living Dead or Final Destination movies. There's a lot of stuff you can find. I mean, he even did the voice of The Crow. He did the voice of Scareglow on the latest Masters of the Universe series, which is pretty cool. He did tons of animated voices. He's in so much stuff. Like and he was a working actor for years. Hatchet. Yeah, I forgot he's in Hatchet. There's so much stuff. And he's one of those actors that universally would bring up any movie he was in, even if he's only in it for a couple seconds. He's in Hellfest for like a couple seconds. He's the voice of the amusement park, the haunted house they go to, and just hearing his voice like makes that part of that movie better for me. So
how did you come to work with Tony Todd?
So he was in town working when the Public Theater first opened, the first season. They were showing King Henry III, the August Wilson play, and Tony Todd was playing the lead in it. And we were doing the TV commercials for it. This was right when I first started writing, and they wanted somebody to do the voiceover for the commercial. They had no idea what they're going to do. So I wrote a script and I said, Tony Todd's here and we should hire him because he has the best voice you've ever heard. And someone said, oh, you just like horror movies and you just want to meet Candyman. I said, no, seriously, like his voice is incredible. It's the darkest, deepest. It's beautiful. So he came, we got a reading from him and it blew everybody's minds. They're like, this guy's amazing. So they told us from the Public Theater, they're like, when you meet him, all he wanted was he had, because he was union, he had to get his union rate, which is fine. Right. And he wanted us to take him to lunch. That's all he wanted. So we went and got lunch with him. And when he ordered his salad, hearing Tony Todd order a salad is terrifying. Right. He's like, I just want oil on the side. And it was like, oh man. But the coolest thing is like every time I have actors read a script that I write, I always like close my eyes to listen to it. And like I wrote it totally for his voice. So we did like a 15-second spot and a 30. And it was like 2 takes because it was written for him. And I mean, obviously he was going to get it right away. And it was like just perfect. And he was so excited. He told me afterwards, he's like, I'm so excited because I always wanted to be in an August Wilson play. It's a major deal to me. And the fact that I can publicize it and do something for it, plus like, you know, getting to do some voiceovers is always fun for me. So we had a really great time talking. The funniest thing was they told me, again, don't bring up Candyman. We literally got a step away from the hotel he was staying at and someone screamed, hey, Candyman, what's up? And he was like, hey, what's up? And I said, you know, they said not to talk to you about it. And he's like, oh, he goes, well, I'll tell you about it. He goes, the first movie's great. Love it. Second movie, that's all right. Third movie, well, I got kids and they're in college. So that's what that one's about. And so, yeah, it was pretty funny. And I love him and the Savini, Night of the Living Dead. And we got to talk about that. And he said that was just one of the things that was a real letdown for him was that movie didn't succeed. And he really loved being in it. And he believed in it a lot and just hoped that it had done better. And it didn't, sadly. But I think it's better remembered now than when it came out.
It definitely, the reputation has improved over the years, I think, for that one.
Yeah. And then, gosh, I'm looking through my list of other movies he's in, and there's just, and I totally agree. Who brought up Enemy Territory? Davey did. That movie is awesome. It's like a siege movie, and he's so good in it. And he leads this gang called the Vampires, and he like tells people that they're immortal, and it's such a wild movie. Like it's a canon one. It's just so good. And obviously he's, very well known for Candyman, but somebody that movie is so good and just so perfect. And he's so identified with that role. You know what I mean? For the best of reasons too. So, but yeah, again, everything he's in is better just for the times that he's in it. And I literally found out like right before the concert started last night. So I was so bummed because like, when I think of, if you would say to me, like, who's a modern horror actor that you like, he would be probably the first person that I would say on the list. And I loved just even little stuff like the Tales from the Hood series of movies that he did. He's really great in those. And do you know what I mean? It's just sad. And hopefully,
He was 69. That's
Yeah.
a little too young.
I think it's a little too young. Yeah. And I think the good thing is like I really like following him on Twitter because it seemed like he really enjoyed talking to fans, and a lot of the times he would just post songs that he was into and talk to people about soul music and stuff. And I thought that was really cool that he would interact with people on that level and talk to them about stuff. So he just always seemed like, just from the brief time that we worked together, incredibly genuine and giving, and like really like talked through being in different films and talked about movies that he was really happy to be in, and like roles that he got to play. And like he said, it's just hard because he's like, the bigger the movies I'm in, like I'm always a small part. So that's why he really liked horror, because he said, when I make these low budget horror movies, like I get to be the lead, I get to be in a major part of it and really get to try some different stuff. He goes, now, that's why he was excited to be in an August Wilson play, because for an actor, that's, especially an African-American actor, that's the biggest deal. He said, this is like, being in Shakespeare to me, or something bigger. He's like this, and getting to open the public theater in Pittsburgh is really cool because it's in the round too, and it's a totally different theater than the other theaters that we have. And it was a cool experience to like open, for him to be the person that opened the theater. And then that was some of the first writing experience I had too. Like I had not really worked on a lot of radio scripts before, and it was exciting because we've talked on the show about how much we love radio. And so to get to do something that had some of the elements of like, the old golden age of radio with like Foley noises and, gunshots and stuff like that, and create it all in the studio was pretty awesome.
Yeah, Tony Todd was pretty special. I always thought it was cool that he played the role that was originated by Dwayne Jones. I mean, I realize that's not on the level of August Wilson and for cultural significance, but to us, it's significant.
He said that it was significant to him. Like he said that was one of the first horror movies he saw that he could identify with the lead character. So he said the fact that I'm getting to play that role is a big deal to me. And which is great. I mean, it's so funny. Like this is why I love Night of the Living Dead more than, we talked about elevated horror a lot, but so much of the beauty of Night is like nobody was planning for it to be elevated horror. You know what I mean? It was a movie to make money, but it's like it was made by talented people and it worked out that way. And it's, it's pretty awesome. So bring it down if I did, but I know we were.
No, I wanted to talk about Tony Todd.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the right time, and I was like, I got to talk about it before I forget.
Yeah,
but
no rules.
No, this double feature, Bill, is insane because we have an Italian film, in Spirits of the Dead and Flesh Feast again, like art and commerce meeting in the middle. Like what a weird double feature. And then also this ad blows my mind where if you brought a black cat with you to the theater,
I know,
like
you keep the cat.
What? Yeah. Says. What are you supposed to do with your cat? My cats can't even be quiet during the show. What are you supposed to do with a black cat in the theater? 1, 2, if you brought a broomstick, you got in free, and every 13th person free. Were they trying to make money?
I guess they figured nobody would do it.
Oh, I love that they're like, you know what? There was like probably already people like, I love Alan De Leon and I love Bardot and Terrence Stamp's a great actor. Like, let's go see that. And then they probably stuck around like, well, we'll stick around for the second movie. And they were confronted with the dismal, muddy darkness of Flesh Feast. And they're like, what are we here for? Yeah. Oh my God, Bill. This though.
Mm-hmm.
is the
Same
is
show, but
the
different
limit.
ad, and they
Where have we
borrowed that.
where have we seen these eyes before?
Babs Steele, your girl.
Oh, right. What if people went and they're like us, like, well, Flesh Feast is a retitled Barbara Steele movie, obviously, so let's go see that, and then nope, wrong. Here's what you're getting, man. But and all these in the whole movie, all you could hear was witches trying to put their brooms under their seats, and cats going meow, meow during the movie. Again, were people putting brooms in front of people?
They would have been hoisting them up in front of the screen, yeah.
Oh,
Like Rocky Horror.
yeah.
So get into some of these fantastic films that this movie played with in theaters. 1971, I think, is when this first started circulating, even though it's credited as 1970. So there must have been some dates there.
This is Double Sweat Night, right?
Yeah.
Florida Sweats.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I forgot about that. They're both Florida movies.
What's Puppet on a Chain?
A much more highbrow film.
Oh, wow.
It was classy.
It's not the 50s song Puppet on a String?
No.
That the Detroit Cobras did?
I really can't remember what Puppet on a Chain is, but I remember seeing like nice big ads for it. I think it was from the 60s.
Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. Oh, my God. This...
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the previous film, which also played with 2000 Maniacs.
Man.
Blood Beast from Outer Space.
I've never seen that.
That's pretty groovy.
Is it?
I found an ad for it, something like this, and I was like, what movie is that? So I found it online and I watched it. It wasn't too bad. Like, it's an old 50s. Like, it came from outer space, sort of. Very low budget.
I can give you a description of what Puppet on a Chain is if you want.
Please.
It's from 1971. It's directed by Jeffrey Reed, written by Alistair McLean. Wow. And Barbara Perkins is in it. Following a triple professional hit, a U.S. agent arrives in Amsterdam to investigate a heroin smuggling ring. He finds the city rife with drugs and a police force unwilling to do much about it. Yep. When his incognito female fellow agent, the American, is soon stirring things up in Amsterdam.
Well, I told you it was high class. It has Barbara Perkins in it.
Yeah. So there you go. I would rather see Blood Beast from Outer Space and 2000 Maniacs and this Flesh Feast, man, that goopy font. How good is that?
Oh, I love it. And that creepy corpse that's in the ad. It's just beautiful.
How about like, should we see The Parent Trap or should we hold out for Flesh Feast? Hold out for Flesh Feast.
Well, this is what you really would have preferred, probably. Here's 3 sweaty movies.
You get a free sample of Right Guard during this. You get or some body spray for these movies and a wet towel for your head because this is the sweatiest. Oh my God.
Flesh Feast.
2000 Maniacs is the best made movie of these. It's probably like it is the.
I have to agree.
It is the Citizen Kane of this night.
Here's some more groovy ones. Blood of Dracula's Castle somehow has the ad campaign from Horror House attached to it.
The Crimson Cult is going to feel like the most well-made movie you're ever going to see. On this night, Crimson Cult is just way too well made.
You might think nobody made good movies anymore after watching the first 2, but then Crimson Cult comes along and you're like, wow, there is hope.
To be fair, people are always like, why are you guys making fun of these movies and why did you choose it? We do love Flesh Feast, but we are also very willing to admit it does have some faults, and but that's okay.
They're not really faults to us.
No, they're things to celebrate. We're not punching down on it. We are lovingly discussing it.
We like being transported into these weird artificial low budget environments.
Mike said Flesh Feast is the movie equivalent of those roadside motels where Charlize hung out in Monster. Yes.
Oh yeah.
If Flesh Feast was a motel room, you could pay $0.25 to make it shake.
Flesh Feast is like, the dirtiest adult bookstore you ever went into.
There's one in outside of my hometown called Human Nature. Why? And every time I drive by, I sing the Michael Jackson song, and it's like it just says adult entertainment, human nature in real small font underneath it.
I was thinking of the Madonna one.
Oh yeah, there's
I'm
that.
not your bitch. Don't pull your shit on me, or whatever the fuck she said in that song.
Yeah. Tell them that it's human nature. Why? Should we do it that way? Yeah.
This was
Daryl really
later.
did not like the score from AXE, by the way. He just would like to bring that up again.
Oh wow, I kind of like it, Daryl.
I like the groove. It was pretty good. We were talking about the funk song that was playing at one point, the groovy song from AXE.
It's weird.
Yeah. When is this one?
The whole thing was, I think the score was recorded in 8 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
This is true, according to the trivia section on IMDb. I forgot to mention that. I'm talking about AXE. And it was filmed in like 8.5 days, and the score was written in less than 8 hours. I thought it turned out pretty good for how little time they had to work on it.
Yeah,
and it is ridiculous. Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure the score annoys most people.
And welcome to the show. She said gave her vibes of Pearl. Yeah, we actually showed some scenes that are shot for shot, very close to Pearl.
Yeah,
how close it is. We actually had a
little... obviously it was only recorded in 8 hours.
Hey, you know what? Wow, this is when the screaming. What year did you say this was playing?
This was like 82, I think.
Wow, that's late. Yeah.
Yeah. So Flesh Feast, I mean, it hung around because I guess it was probably public domain and anybody could show it for free. Yeah. So they just tacked it on. And it has a great title, you must admit.
It has a wonderful title. Also, I love this ad that someone just hand wrote, An Unequaled Experience in Terror. They just got out the old brush and hand lettered that. It looks awesome.
Wow. Davey Collins said someone he knew talked about this like it was the most disturbing film ever made.
I really like the Lorelai's Grasp a lot. We showed it on the show, and it's
so do I.
Yeah, but you know what? Seeing both that and Flesh Feast one after another, I don't think you need drugs. I think you could just show up totally, so we wouldn't have to pack all the stuff we bring to the April Monsterama. We could just go in sober, and this night would take you through it.
Something Creeping in the Dark is one of those Poliziotteschi films with Farley Granger in it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, let me look that up.
I'm pretty sure Farley Granger is in that movie. I don't know if I pronounced that word correctly.
Oh, no, Something Creeping in the Dark is, it's Italian. It's Farley Granger, but it's more horror. It's because the poster art has a white diaphanous gown, and you know how much we enjoy that.
Oh, well, sold.
Yeah. After being stranded on a flooded road, a group of people, including a homicidal killer and his arresting police officers, take refuge in a deserted mansion once owned by a witch. Then they find the sole inhabitant is the former caretaker. And what would you do? Would you hold a seance, which conjures up supernatural forces? Of course you would. Yeah.
Wow.
Farley Granger, Lucia Bose, Giacomo Stewart, Stelvio Rossi. Come on.
Supernatural giallo, says David.
Oh, right. Something Creeping in the Dark also re-released as Creeping in the Night in Ireland, and Shadows in the Dark, the final film of Colucci, is Mario Colucci, who had one of his films. He started working on Giallo in 1972, and it was not finished until the 2000s. How about that? But look at this. What is happening here? Again, the best. This is an alpha and omega night right here.
Yeah.
A good thing they played Dawn first, right?
There's some flesh eating because it goes on in both movies, but maybe not the kind you're really expecting in the second one.
How about, I think that the scene where the husband eats the wife in Dawn is one of the most disturbing things in movies. It is so, it looks real.
Yeah.
And it, like, you see the muscle and everything. It's just the thought of it. And it's just great. It's amazing.
It's horrifying, and it happens so matter of fact too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like filmed in a real flashy way, like an Argento film or something.
Carlo Night is bullshit. I just want to bring this up because if you drive all these assholes to the drive-in, you pay for gas. You're taking your car. You're the one that pays.
Well, I think maybe the concept is everyone will pitch in for one entry.
They're freeloaders. You know it, Bill.
That's what I would insist.
We all know it. Yeah, I would say, hey, before we get there, you're going to pay for me. And you're probably obviously the designated driver, one would hope.
Well,
This is-
though, if you're dad, though, you're going to pay.
Yeah.
If you're the driver and your dad, you're the one that's going to pay.
Do you like that they spelled Horrorama completely unlike anyone in the history of time has ever spelled it? It's Horrorama.
Horrorama.
Was this on Mother's Day weekend? Is that when this played? Like, hey, come to see the Horrorama and bring your mom. I work in advertising. I know what's up.
You wrote this ad copy, didn't you?
I did. I went back in time and wrote it. Yeah.
Oh, we already saw this one.
Yeah. But it's still great.
Bring this one back, which is oh my god.
Oh.
This was just there was too much good stuff here to not put everything up.
I mean, nothing is real, right? We know this. Vampire Lovers and Count Yorga, magical, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. A total gothic horror night.
What would even be uncut in Frankenstein and Dracula, Bill?
Well, I don't know if everybody was aware that the original Frankenstein was cut, because there were the scene with the little girl, there was something that was cut out of that.
Oh yeah.
And there was also the line where he says, "Now I know what it's like to be God," was cut at the beginning when he brings it to life. So I don't know, though. I mean, maybe they're just teasing it up like, oh, you're going to see something shocking that you never saw before. Look what they were competing with. The Vampire Lovers and Flesh Feast.
Look, I'm not made of stone, Bill. As soon as I saw Ingrid Pitt's name, I know which screen I was picking, right?
As soon as you saw Ingrid Pitt's curves.
I know. As soon as that hip, I saw that hip and I was like,
she is given hip in that ad.
Oh my
Holy
gosh.
shit.
Yeah. She is, man. Sometimes I'm like, you're never sure if there's intelligent design or how the universe is built. And then you see Ingrid Pitt and you're like, maybe. I mean, yes, I could definitely see it. By the way, a question in the chat from Lee, Bill, and I think I know the answer, but I know my answer. Which Dawn of the Dead do you like better, the 1978 one or the remake?
I do like the remake.
Oh, do you? Oh.
I do like it. I've seen it a couple of times. I saw it twice when it was in theaters.
Ah.
I got a free ticket to go see it, and then I think Mark hadn't seen it, so I went back to see it with Mark. But the original, I mean, the original is just it's one of those perfect films, and one of those it's lightning in a bottle. There's no way you could replicate what happens in Dawn of the Dead, so that's the best one.
I like the Argento cut a lot too.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's good. I like the beginning of the remake a lot. The first 15 minutes when they're coming out of the plan and she wakes up.
Oh my god, it's like so well done and edited. The editing in it is amazing. I was hoping, it's very hard to keep that level of tension, to ratchet it up from that. But but also if you live in Pittsburgh, honestly, you're gonna love the original a lot more, because especially growing up with Monroeville Mall is such a big place, and getting to kind of time capsule Monroeville Mall, especially that little bridge that was by the candy store and these little things in it, it's so beautiful to see. Oh, well, a mall didn't even mean the same thing that it did when the original Dawn was made. I mean, malls were completely passé by the time the remake happened, and I don't know, it was just it had no charm to it. As Daryl said, the whole movie was just kind of flat. That was my problem with Dawn of the Dead. I
like Matt Frewer a lot.
Was missing.
Matt Frewer was a really good actor, and I like him in it.
There were too many characters in it.
Yeah, and it's also, they're it's funny that they build that battle van in it to get out, and then that's
I love that.
But it's funny that they did that, and that's almost the same plot that Romero would return to later in the Dead Reckoning script he wrote.
Yeah,
turned into the last one of the next to last ones.
I have to say, I like that zombie truck better than the one in Land of the Dead.
The Dead Reckoning, yeah,
it's scarier. Because I think that scene is really super scary when they drive out into it, and you see that's the first time you realize how many of them are there.
Yeah.
that there's just like this sea of zombies out there. That was really scary.
It feels a
But-
little more Nightmare City than Romero Zombie, especially with the quick movement and stuff. But
I'd like to cut the remake down to like an hour, and then it would be like the best thing.
yeah,
Not better than the original, though.
yeah.
All right. Sorry. I got derailed there. Hey, this is amazing. Flesh Feast is there just scrawled in. with
Yeah, I love
Evils of Frankenstein. I don't know what movie that is.
Ooh.
Evils?
It could be almost anything, right?
Well, there is Evil of Frankenstein, but this person wrote Evils.
I know that AI just got invented now, but doesn't that look like an AI illustration of that woman screaming? Like the fingers aren't right, the face is kind of morphed.
That is from the Flesh Feast ad, Matt, though. So they used that part of it.
Oh,
This was pretty amazing. Look, there's some Milligan. And look at that final feature, Sam. Crazed Vampires.
ooh, what is that?
That's a Jean Rollin film.
That's what I was thinking.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's which one is it though? Well, if only
Requiem for a Vampire.
Oh, yes, yes.
It's Requiem
I watched
for a Vampire.
Oh, okay, good. Man.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I timed out for a second. You know what?
Sorry, I opened IMDb and I can't
Yeah.
do that while we're on the air because it uses so many system
I would like
resources.
everybody to
ridiculous.
know that you may not believe in ghosts, but you cannot deny terror.
Right.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. You can't clone treachery either, but you cannot deny terror. My God, could you imagine seeing Flesh Feast and then you're like, hey, we're going to show you this vampire movie from France where vampires come out of grandfather clocks and just skulk around the beach and just like longingly stare at each other for a long time. And it just feels like the movie is made in molasses because I 100% can. Because speaking of vibes, like all of his vampire movies are super vibe where it's just like they're like stoner metal come to life. Also, everything that's playing here, Bill, I mean, the rats are coming, the werewolves are here. That's what you're starting with. You're like, you really have faith in your audience that you're like, oh yeah, we'll start with Milligan. Then we'll hit you at Torture Dungeon. And then the Man with Two Heads. Like what, like this is 100%. They should have just called it Torture Show. Like to normal folks, this would fuck with you so bad. And like to us, it's like, this is like a joy night. To other people, they're like, oh, what am I seeing? Yeah, Veronica Lake is in Flesh Feast, Lee. She is definitely in it. But yeah, I also like
skull hole perplexes me, says Jenny.
If you don't have the guts, stay away. If you're a normal human being, stay away from these five movies because this is the kind of thing that people would talk about afterwards and be like, I can't believe that we sat through
a lot of these movies are short though, so
yeah.
This would not be asking too much of your night.
I love it because it's like, hey, you know what? Do you like one Andy Milligan movie? Yeah. How about 3 Andy Milligan movies? Yeah, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The lot would not be cleared. I would be the lone car.
I would be
yours.
You know what we would be like? We would be like that guy that sits at the drive-in and has that little tent that he puts in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
And he just sits in the middle of there. And we're like, why is he out there by himself? That's what we would be like. We would be on separate ends sitting inside a little tent.
He's totally immersed.
Oh my God. He loves it. We would have our gutter guards in case it rained. We would be ready. Oh my God. Come on. What a night at the movies. This is a date night of first date, last date night of bringing. I think about Terror Circus all the fucking time, by the way, because I think we talked about it maybe last show where it's just like his dad is in there and they're just like he's been nuked and oh God damn it. Terror Circus is wonderful. It is a formless movie as well. It's just like stuff happens, but not really how you would expect. You might think that a resourceful hero will escape or anyone will make it out alive. Maybe one girl just runs into the desert by the end of it. And you're like, oh, I guess she was one of the lucky ones.
The lucky ones died first.
Oh, they always do die first, don't they? Oh,
I saved this
I
for
can't
last.
even say anything about this. God damn it.
This stunner closes out our ad gallery for the night. It's just wow. Talk about a big idea to get used to.
Dude, "We're going to eat you" is the greatest tagline. Like, it is such an fu to everybody, because it's like, a lot of zombie movies that come out now, they're kind of like, oh yeah, they're the Living Dead, and it's political when we explore situations, and like Fulci's just like, no, they're going to eat people, and we're going to put a stick in Prince's mom's eye from Purple Rain, and we're gonna have a zombie swim and fight a shark. And then there's going to be a scene where the zombies eat, and it's going to make you physically sick. And then there's a gun battle. Great. All of it. Zombie. I really think Zombie is the greatest movie of all time. People are like, is it The Bicycle Thief? No, it's Zombie. Do you know what I mean? Like, please give me your Criterion Collection film, and I will fight out and fall on my sword for Zombie, because man, what a magical thing. Once you get to Matul, once you've been to Matul, you can never go back. Do you know what I mean? Matul's where it's at.
I like being on the dock listening to Linda Lee personally. There is no matter.
God.
You leave my mother out of this. I love how she sells that whole thing. She's just like totally committed to the part.
But okay, so as scummy and low budget as Zombie is, the final shot of the zombies crossing the bridge into the city is art, right? It's so good.
The one that they didn't have a permit to film, and
that's why it's art.
The camera.
That's art, because like Fulci was like, now, and probably American actors were like, we can't shoot this, and he's like, go run, make art.
They shot stuff in the Bowery too of that boat zombie coming out of the water, but they didn't use it.
Yeah,
you've seen the stills for that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean that guy was really in the water. And that's when he went to CBGB's in makeup.
Yeah, I know.
He just walked in there and no one paid him any attention.
And also, not the most deranged movie that Fulci shot in New York, which is crazy, right?
Well, it is pretty deranged, but maybe it's no New York Ripper.
Yeah, like what if we made a movie with a guy that has a weird hand that kind of gets into a weird public sex thing with a girl who is cucking her husband? What if? God. New York Ripper is just like indefensible. 200 stars out of 5. It is unacceptable, and I've bought it like 15 times, like every format. If they put a Viewmaster out of it, I know Fright Rags is doing those Viewmasters, right? If they put out a Viewmaster of New York Ripper, 100% will buy it. Mark that down now. That is a prophecy of the Black Spider, if I've ever heard.
You know how to spell it too.
Profecy, prophecy of the Black Spider. I
have the Andy Warhol's Frankenstein Viewmaster.
Oh my God! Did you see the Fright Rag ones that are coming out though?
No, I have not.
It's pretty cool. The viewer's only $20, which is cool, but the reels are like 10. But they actually put them in the old like flap thing that they go in and everything. And oh man,
I just have it in my old Viewmaster. Like I have an actual Viewmaster. I put it in, and you could buy one from Vinegar Syndrome when it was out. There was like a limited.
Oh, when they did the one for that 3D movie, Silent Madness.
Yeah.
But
I think you could also get it with the Andy Warhol's thing. I don't know, but I think there was another one that they did before they did the Silent Madness one. There were porn reels that you could get from their like. Adult film collections too.
Italians being set loose in America to make movies is a genre, my favorite genre. It doesn't have a name, but it is really my favorite, because especially like Claudio Fragasso, who barely speaks English, and like the people had to translate what he wanted out of his movies.
That he made that's so bad it's good movie, Night Killer.
Oh, don't start. I like that you tried to rile me up with that this week. You're like, did you see what they wrote about Night Killer? And I'm like, yeah, I did. Well, one of my favorite movies has an extended fried chicken on the bed eating section. I understand this. I talk like Night Killer all the time to Becca when I call her on the phone. I'm like, you look beautiful, Mrs. Beck.
And then you're actually calling her from the hall, right?
Oh yeah,
behind
exactly.
her.
I'm right there. Yeah. I'm like, oh.
I love that too. I'm like, he's right there and she didn't know.
I like that she gets in a fight with that cop and she's like, I have 2 phone lines. Someone's calling on the other line. Oh my God. And then she gives herself a breast exam right after it. Fucking genius.
I'd like to think I would know if somebody was in my house because our floorboards are really creaky.
Yeah.
So I would hear you if you were in my house, Night Killer.
Look, I know that I talk about Night Killer a lot. So let me just say one thing about Night Killer and before we get to the drinks. I love that when that movie came back to Italy, that Joe D'Amato was like, you know what, this movie doesn't have enough. What if I shoot an extended dance sequence and then throw a woman on crutches off a balcony, and then the Night Killer does his signature move? We just cut in a couple scenes where the Night Killer uses a rubber claw to punch through people's stomachs. And they're like,
that's the worst part of Night Killer.
No, or the best, which
yeah. That's definitely the moment where a lot of people probably get their opinion of the film is that stupid rubber claw thing.
But if you took that out and it was just a story about bad police work where a cop tries to bring his wife back from spoiler warning, sorry. A cop tries to bring his wife back from not remembering anything. Is
that the one where she holds him at gunpoint and makes him take off all his clothes?
Oh yeah.
Down
and
to
he
his
says,
Speedo undies.
Yeah, and she flushes his pants down the toilet, and when he comes out, his clothes are all wet. And the guy says, "What happened to you?" And he says, "I guess I got molested in a little boy's room." Oh my God. That's really his voice, because I've watched him in a couple other movies, and that's 100% his voice. So yeah. If you haven't seen Night Killer, we've shown it on the show. I talk about it all the time, but God damn it, it's the best. It's my favorite Claudia Fragasso movie. People are like, "Oh, Troll 2 is so crazy." And I love Troll 2. Troll 2 is a walk in the park compared to Night Killer. It's like Night Killer is filled. I have so many questions, and I've watched it hundreds of times. Sometimes I'll watch it 4 or 5 times in a row. And man, I do what Dr. Butcher's the first Severin Blu-ray I bought, and the idea that there was a bloodmobile that drove through New York City getting blood all over it to sell Dr. Butcher. What a world.
Dr. Butcher is definitely the better cut of that movie, if you ask me.
I think so too, yeah.
Just because it's so weird with all the extra stuff cut into it, especially if you've seen Zombie Holocaust, which is no slouch in the weird department all on its own. And it's weird how similar it is to Zombie.
Yeah.
In certain parts anyway.
Or
definitely not as good as Zombie. Dr. Butcher elevates it. It doesn't drag it down.
I love of course, you talked about Virus earlier. I love that they're like, "Hey, can you make a happier Dawn of the Dead?" And Bruno was like, No, I think I'll make a much more depressing one where everybody dies and the lead actress's eyes get ripped out at the end of it. And
yeah, his movie was actually more in line with George Romero's original ending for Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Oh. Which reportedly was the first thing that George Romero filmed.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of controversy about whether or not they actually filmed it. Oh. I think like George said he didn't and Tom said he did, or the other way around. But I guess there are production stills that show that it was shot, and that was one of the first things was the deaths of the characters, the 2 characters that survived at the end, even though the actors weren't there. They were just doing like pickup shots of them all and stuff. And I guess they staged this. I'm
glad that it ended the way that it did.
Oh, me too. I would have been so, it's the nihilistic ending is so overrated now. Everybody does that. We need to get back to hope.
Yeah, I just watched a French movie, The House of Death, and the end of it, they tack on like kind of a downer ending, and I was so behind this character, and she gets killed at the end, and I was like, what? Like it was like it felt like so cheap, and I feel like Dawn would feel as cheap at the end. Like and versus like Night's downer ending works, right? And I can see why it works, right? But like, yeah, we need some hope. We need drinks too. That's another thing that we need.
Lee likes the child. Ha ha, Nora.
Yeah.
Nora liked Axe though.
Yeah,
she was okay with the companion piece. So that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Nora could have just left after AXE was over, but she wouldn't have known. The child would have still been a sneak attack, so it would have happened to her at the drive-in.
Daryl's been on the roof of the Monroeville Mall before, but Daryl, have you been in Monroeville Mall when there's an active shooter and they shut down the entire mall? Because that's happened to me at least 3 times. Because my ex-wife used to run a Claire's there, and and they shut down the mall.
Yeah,
and
scary things happen at the mall now for real.
Yeah, it's and I thought to myself, is the motorcycle gang here, and are they fucking around with pies? And no, it was a bunch of kids with guns. So
you'd hear that in okay, we got to get to the drink segment.
Let's do it. Scientific experiment for Flesh Feast. This is the maggots. Half an ounce of vodka, half an ounce of peach schnapps, half an ounce of Kahlua, half an ounce of Bailey's Irish Cream, which is cold. Supposedly, if you pour all of these ingredients together in this order, we actually have to switch the order because the Kahlua goes last. And if we do that in this order, so the order should be, again, vodka, peach schnapps, Bailey's, Kahlua. Anyways, I'm going to start drinking yet. Kahlua. Sound it out, Sam. All right. So we're going to pour these in. Once you have them in, you're going to let them sit for a second, and you're going to slightly shake the glass to make the...
And for you, that means very slightly.
I know. So, science experiment begins now. I have the hypotheses. Now we're going to do the lab work. Here's our first.
Am I your lab partner?
You're my lab partner.
Tell me your lab partner.
Yes. Okay, first part of the drink, no maggots. Second, got a little cloudy. Please take a note, lab partner. Okay, here we go with this. Okay. Finally. Okay. So it says
Separated. Where's your little stir?
up here.
That's not what I meant. Even Cubby says, let's see. If you take some and... I mean...
Yeah, kind of.
I see him.
We'll go
I think if that Bailey's was...
colder.
Yeah. No, there they are. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there they are.
Oh, my God, that's gross.
Yeah.
Look at
now
that.
drink it.
Yeah. Pound them maggots. What do we say? We say Pazuzu.
Oh.
Smooth, as we say. Smooth. Well, I just drank a cup full of maggots for the show. Pazuzu, I hope you enjoy Flesh Feast. And if you don't like maggots, bad news. This is a movie about maggots. I just drank some. They're good. I think as we want to have more protein sources, we really need to embrace the maggots.
Bugs.
Pazuzu.
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 Everybody's talking about maggots, flesh-eating maggots.
I would like to know who else made the maggot drink. I think maybe I bet one other person did, but we'll see.
It reminded me of an alien brain hemorrhage.
It's very similar.
Did you ever make those?
Yeah, it's weird though because the maggots started showing up at the end.
I noticed that. Yeah,
and then I was like, oh man, yeah. I was eating maggots, Michael.
Yeah, I was bummed out that I wasn't on board for that when I saw how it turned out. That would have been awesome.
We'll make it on New Year's. I'll make some on New Year's for you.
Oh, promise?
I promise. Yeah, we'll make some wacky drinks on New Year's.
Let's get to the movie.
Let's do it. I'm very excited for people to be confronted by Flesh Feast. So let us know. And it won't take much of your time. It's not gonna ask
Oh,
for much out of you.
Here's one thing I have to say. I linked on Groovy Doom to the best version of Flesh
Yes.
Feast you're going to watch. I mean, this movie has really shitty versions out there where you can't hear anything, you can't see anything. This is still kind of like that, but it looks like it came from a Laserdisc, a Japanese Laserdisc, and there are Japanese subtitles on it. Trust me, you're not going to notice the subtitles after a while, and this is the nicest Flesh Feast you can watch. Just saying. Otherwise, you can just find Flesh Feast on any app. It's public domain. So
when people say, "What did you do this weekend?" I want you to say to them, "I saw the best Flesh Feast, the best version of Flesh Feast that I can see." And I watched it with a bunch of folks, and we all came back and we all talked about our feelings of Flesh Feast. And they'll say, "Okay." So water cooler.
You yourself said how bad this movie looks. It's even worse in the crummy versions that are out there. So do yourself a favor and watch this version with the Japanese subtitles. It is in English, so you're not going to be missing anything. And we'll be back after the movie for the notorious Drive-In Asylum double feature third segment. And you're going to find out what movie we're going to be watching next week. We didn't even tease that yet.
One movie next week, a late movie, but we're ready. We're gonna keep pushing you guys, and we'll show what new movies came in this week, and we'll have some freeform discussion. Please come prepared to do a report on your thoughts on Flesh Feast. Do your lab. We'll be doing labs and the workbook. Is the same chemistry class.
I'll give you a hint. Next week's movie is a Terror in the Water film.
Ooh.
What could it be? It's something that we've threatened to do here on the show numerous times, and we finally decided to make good on that threat.
The threat is real now. This is no longer a threat. It's a promise.
But for now, go watch Flesh Feast. Come back afterwards, and you can just get it all off your chest.
Yeah.